Hey everybody, my name is Jess Vergali, and today we're not going to be talking about real estate. We're going to be talking about a question that I get asked probably the most since I started doing Bigger Pockets YouTube videos and my podcast, and that's what gear do you use? Audio, video, etc. So today I'm going to kind of run down the list of what I have, and we'll do a little bit of a behind the scenes so you can actually see the space that I work in, which is a relatively small space, and I've kind of catered everything that I've purchased towards that. So we'll start with audio in terms of the podcast. So the podcast, well, you can start with this guy right here. This is the SM7B Shure mic. It's a very popular mic. You'll see it on, people doing voiceovers or podcasts. You'll see it all over YouTube as well. Great mic. This goes into a Behringer audio interface, and that I found that's great. I use the Euphoria, and that's connected with an XLR cable. The Behringer then goes into my PC, and that's how that's connected. Now, in between the SM7B and the Behringer is a Cloudlifter, which gives you about 20 dB of clean gain. And if you Google SM7B and Cloudlifter, you'll see all kinds of debates on the forums of if it's necessary, if it's not. I found that it was. It's going to really depend on the audio interface you have, but I just found I was cranking the gain way too high, so that helped alleviate that problem. So just to wrap up here, I use the Rode arm so I can swivel around the desk here. It's just connected right to my desk. So the camera I'm using is the Sony a7 III. I think it's great. If you know anything about Sony, the menus take a little bit longer to get used to if you're coming from Canon, but I used to be a Sony guy, switched to Canon, and then back to Sony, and I found it has worked great so far. So in terms of the lenses, I've had multiple lenses, sold multiple lenses. I'm now down to actually two prime lenses, the 24mm 1.4 G Master and the 85mm 1.8. I found those are great. I can have this wide. This is the 24mm right now. I can have this wide space. I can punch in and crop it if I want with the Sony, or I could go, at family events and use an 85mm and get amazing portrait shots. In terms of the audio, not this mic, but the audio I usually use with video is a lav mic, and it's the Rode Wireless Go. And I found they're just so simple and easy to use. You have one of them that goes onto your belt or on your person somewhere. The other one goes on the camera. You can see the levels on the camera, which is really handy. And then lastly, it goes directly in your camera. So there's no syncing in post. You don't have to take the audio and video and sync them. Everything is ready to go. Oh, and lastly, the camera is on the Sirui. I know I probably butcher this later in the video, but the Sirui monopod. Monopod's game changer. Absolute game changer. They use so little square footage. So as long as you get a sturdy one, and I mean, in my space, nothing's really gonna bang into it, or it's just nobody's here. So the last thing I have here is the Cam Link, which connects my PC to my camera to give me really, really good video compared to a webcam or anything like that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we kind of walk through. Okay, so why don't we take a little behind the scenes look at this stuff? A number of people have asked what my actual setup looks like, and this is it. This is the setup. So let's start with the lighting here. So I have the Aputure 120D Mark II with this bad boy here. What's cool about this is it's a little bit smaller than the other one you can get, which is massive, and I don't have the space for it. So this one's great too because you can actually change everything remotely, and that was a big draw for me to have this. So if you need to turn the light up, turn it down, you can do that all from there. Now here's the one I probably get the most questions about, the Cam Link. So Cam Link, what's great about this is that you can plug your mirrorless camera or DSLR directly into this. Then it goes into your computer so you can record directly from the computer itself, which I found is great because first of all, it's having a monitor so you can see what you're doing, but also the quality compared to any webcam is night and day. Like you can't compare the two. And then, if you stream, if you do anything live, you could record on there. So that's great. That is the one I probably get the most questions about because people are either on a Zoom call or Skype, and they're like, why does your video look so good? And it's not me. But yeah, the video looks great. And I think that is it. I mean, aside from some bits and bops when it comes to like little LED lights. That's pretty much it. I mean, I love this because I can just go in here, turn like 2 things on, and it's ready to go. And that's where I would normally have the tripod or the monopod. So right in there. And I usually power source just because I always get frustrated with batteries. So I just put a power source directly into the wall, and then you don't have to worry about your batteries dying. But if you do worry about your batteries dying, there's a bunch of different options. I was using Canon for the longest time, and then I finally went back to Sony, which one thing I love about this camera, and the main reason I got the camera was not really for stills, it was specifically for video. So I was speaking to a few videographers and they were like, hands down, go into Sony, if you can make the jump, which once I did, I realized how amazing it is, especially at low light. Absolutely incredible. So love this camera, couldn't recommend it enough. All right, so now we can talk a little bit about audio. I use these bad boys. These are the Rode Wireless Go. The reason these are so awesome is you can just pop these bad boys on the shoe here, and you have a cable that goes directly into my mirrorless in this case. And what's great is you just plug and play. So you don't have to do any synchronizing audio after the fact. The only time I really do that is if I'm going directly into my Shure mic. So these are great. So the one goes up there, the other one pops down there, and that's fine. And if you're looking for an alternative to the Rode Go's, there is Tascam. I used these ones for the longest time, and it's probably the best bang for your buck in terms of audio quality. Another lav mic, so you have the lav. I don't have it here, but put it on your collar and you're ready to go. So that's what I use for audio. Okay, so that's the setup. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to hear me ramble on more. And I'll put a link to all of the gear so you can take a look at it and dive deeper into the specs. Anyways, have a great day.